So I sat down with Beth Finke. We're doing a week about senses, and there's cars that are, they're happy that we're doing a week about senses, apparently. Yeah, represent. Beth Finke happens to be an author.
So I am an author. I have 2 books. I have a memoir published and a children's book published.
She's also published many articles in the Chicago Tribune, various magazines, and recorded stories for NPR. Oh, and one more thing. In 1985, at the age of 26, she became completely blind.
For me, I see the color black. Some people see white, some people see gray. Some people, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, so they see little bits of things through.
Can you detect changes in light?
I can sense it with my face, and there's light coming through over there, and I can feel the sunshine. I have a disease called retinopathy. Among the smallest blood vessels in your body, they are the ones in your eyes. And so in my case, they were breaking. The little dot of blood would go and then it would spread out. And so I would get these spider webs in my eyes. So they took all that solution out of my eye and they replaced it with saline solution. And that does work for people in 80% of the cases of people that have retinopathy. But what I learned from that was somebody's in the 20% and it was me. For all I know, I might have just stayed in my apartment and curled up in the corner. It wasn't a happy time. A social worker suggested I keep a journal, and every day on cassette, I would say what was going on in my head or what I was thinking about, and that was the start of my memoir, which is Long Time No See. College kid said, if you could see again, would you? I say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but that was a really dumb question. Yeah, why would you ask that? And she said, well, if you could see, you would have never had these books published. And I thought, yeah, it was really a nice thing in the end because it made me kind of happy that that all happened because I really like having these published books and I like writing. But my computer talks as I type. So if I were typing an email to you, DEAR space CRAIG comma space, but I actually type pretty fast so it would really go. Press a button and it goes, dear Craig, comma, it was great talking to you today. Period. Hope to see you again soon! Exclamation point. It kind of goes up, or I'll say, are you okay? It kind of does that as you're typing. I used to, when I played the piano, back in the days when I could see, I thought, boy, I wish I was one of those people that could play by ear, but I'm not. I could have been then too, but I didn't have to, and now I have to. And so I kind of like that I can play by ear. I really like walking arm in arm with people, touching people, and then it's easier to talk to them. And Americans don't do that. They don't walk arm in arm down the street, or especially same-sex people might not walk arm in arm. Oh, and dogs. I was kind of afraid of dogs. My first dog, Dora, Pandora was her name, but we called her Dora, jumped up on me, and I was afraid. I'm not crying, but just screaming like, oh my God, she's jumping on me, she's jumping on me. And one of the trainers came by and said, she likes you. It's okay.
You take your dog out to go to the bathroom?
Yes.
By yourself?
Yes.
How do you know?
How do we know it's time?
Or how do you know they go?
Oh. Well, maybe I'll have to show you, but I can try to explain. Once you get home with your dog, you establish certain places where they usually go. I take her harness off, and that's her clue to her that, okay, now I can go. And she kind of smells around, and I can feel the leash moving around. When the leash stops, I feel her back, and if her back is in a slant, that means she's going number 1. And if it's at a curve, I know she's going number 2. Put your foot near her butt and take a plastic bag, put it on your hand, and then feel through until you feel warm lumps, using your sense of touch. People stop me in the corners sometimes. They're just curious, how does the dog know when to cross the street? And the dog doesn't know. Dogs are colorblind. So all these cars are going in front of us, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I wait till I hear them stop. On my parallel, that traffic starts to go. And then I guess the light is green. And so I say to my dog, Whitney, forward, and then she looks both ways, and if she thinks it's safe, then we go across. And the wind is more helpful than I would have imagined. It's especially helpful in the city, the windy city. When you're walking by a big building, you don't sense anything, and then when you get to the intersection, all of a sudden it's windy. You feel a different sort of wind, and you know that you're in the intersection. I mean, you're hopefully not in the intersection. You're on the sidewalk about to cross.
Yeah. The things that you remember seeing, how do you visualize them? Do they deteriorate over time?
No, they're not vivid, but they don't deteriorate either. I can remember the Hancock Building, and I can remember the Sears Tower. A person who was born blind, they could touch the wall of the Sears Tower but could never have an appreciation for how big and tall it is. If you were born blind, you could feel the bark of the tree and you could feel the leaf on the tree, but you wouldn't get this idea of what a tree is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I still remember colors. There are new colors that I have a hard time. Teal. I just can't get teal in my head because some people say it's blue-green. Some people say it's like the red-violet crayon in the Crayola box. People describe that color differently because I think they see that color.
I would say blue-green.
Blue-green? But is it more green or more blue? No, seriously, people.
Yeah. I would say more blue, I think.
More blue.
But I don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with colors.
Well, yeah, and so there's the.
Do you see when you dream?
Yes. Usually I'm just watching what's going on and everything's in color. But sometimes I'm in the dream and I'm watching myself being blind. I'm picturing how they're looking at me because I can't see.
Do you have an image of me right now?
Not really.
No.
You're a good-looking guy, but I can't, not the details. I just think.
It looks a lot like Brad Pitt.
Oh, good. And I don't know what that looks like. So I can picture you as young people with energy and people who smile always look better. And if people, and you guys have been smiling a lot. I mean,
How do you know I've been smiling?
I hear you laughing sometimes, but you can hear it in a voice when someone's talking.
Was your perception of beauty changed?
Definitely. I think people are good looking if they're naturally just being themselves. They're not doing themselves up so much. Beautiful people are people who listen to other people rather than talk about themselves all the time. If I'm in a party or I'm in a group and there's somebody who's really boring or very tedious, but everybody's listening to them, I'll say, my husband can see and I'll say to him, is he good looking? And he'll say, yeah. And people tend to still listen to that, if they're good looking. There's some people you could be with them and they kind of suck energy from you, and those are not beautiful people. The beautiful people are people that give you, you walk away from being with that person and you had a good time and you feel good. That is a beautiful person, and that's a person who doesn't have to put on a bunch of makeup or get the perfect haircut or spend 3 hours before they go out in public. They just feel good, and it shows. It's not much I like about being blind, but that is number one. The thing I like the most, that I can't judge people by what they look like.
Thanks, Beth and Whitney, and sorry we forgot to plug your phone in before we left. Up next, we talk about extra senses with a man with a phantom limb.